Yama. My name is Marley Silver. I'm a proud Aboriginal woman from the Gamilaroi and Dunghutti tribes of New South Wales. On behalf of the Imperfects podcast, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the country on which this podcast is created, and in this, honour the ways in which their elders, past and present, have cared for and nurtured their lands and waterways for millennia. I extend this acknowledgement to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people connected to each of the hundreds of countries that make up the continent of so-called Australia, and any of my brothers and sisters listening to this episode. I pay my respects to our leaders and knowledge keepers past and present. I find strength in our survival for over 60,000 years and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Always was, always will be.
In this episode of The Imperfects, we discuss grief and loss. If this is something you'd rather not hear right now, then perhaps this episode is worth a miss. We hope you come back for a listen when you're ready. And as always, if you need urgent support, we recommend Lifeline on 131114.
The Imperfects invites you into a very safe place. A place where we share without judgment and drink heaps and heaps of vulnerability. Grab yourself a cup. This is the Vulnerabilitea House. Here we are in the Vulnerabilitea House. I don't know why I'm still doing the voice, because I do. Michelle Brasier is here in the Vulnerabilitea House. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hi. Are you relaxed?
I feel very relaxed.
Wow.
I love. It's great to be here with our tea in our togas.
Yeah.
And just really feeling the vibe.
A theatre of the mind that will be crushed when people watch the clips that we're filming.
Yeah.
But
if we can Photoshop some togas, that would be really good.
that would be good.
Yeah,
That's something.
certainly in the budget.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a toga budget.
Yeah.
a post-production toga budget.
I said to my manager, do they have a toga budget? And she said yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I agreed to come on the pod.
Good.
Yeah. There was a few things on your rider. That was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Not togas in person, just a post-production.
Yeah, just
toga budget.
In fact, it says no togas to be present in the building on any floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
really
the email
important.
that I've got, it says, if there is a toga present when I walk in, I'm leaving that fucking place.
Yeah.
And so that we've respected that.
And I would have
We-
left. I've searched this place high and low. There are no togas.
Well, now for those of you who don't know, Hugh, do you want to introduce Michelle formally?
Well, I can do a semi-formal introduction.
Hugh usually does the introduction.
I'd like you to put a suit on in post-production and introduce me formally.
We don't have
but
a
in
budget.
a semi-formal.
Yeah.
Oh,
No
no,
suit
there's no
post-
suit
no.
budget.
No.
Oh,
I'll
my
be
God.
wearing a toga. So
Okay. Well, like Caesar would do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
No, just do it like you would do it. Be yourself, babe. Everyone else is taken.
Wow. Wow.
It's my first bit of wisdom.
Plenty more to come.
Yeah, we have a format called the Academy of Imperfection. I feel like that would have been perfect for that, but we'll put it in here anyway. I do like it. So for those of you who don't know Michelle, I mean, everyone knows Aunty Donna. You're part of the Aunty Donna team, and you in fact, Josh, you sent me a terrific skit the other day with Michelle in it from Aunty Donna, the classroom scene.
Oh, yes.
One of classroom. Yeah, one of many, but yeah, geez, it was good.
That's very good. Also, Mad as Hell with Shaun Micallef, also on that. Now, let me get this right. Your show last year won the Best Newcomers...
Stand-up show.
So Michelle's a stand-up comedian as well. In fact, would you say that's your main thing?
I would definitely say that I am an actor and a singer who snuck onto TV by doing comedy.
Oh,
I
nice.
snuck on in. Like I went to music theatre school. I didn't want to do musicals. I was like, I want to do telly. How do you get on telly? Comedians.
Really?
And that's, So
Oh,
I just
interesting.
I'm just faking it and now I've made it.
at the top of the pile. Must feel good.
But I think I mean, yeah. All wankiness aside, I just am a storyteller. I like telling stories. So whatever format I can do that in.
So, Michelle, if you don't know, for those who don't know, the way this works is we have a deck of cards. The deck of cards, as you can see, Michelle, is a deck of bluey cards.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is on the day we started doing this, one of us was in charge of organising the cards. I just pointed to Hugh. And he didn't organise the cards, which was fine because it was sort of a happy accident because it meant that we got to use these bluey cards, which were the only ones you had on hand at the time.
Yes, my son was playing with them as I walked out the door, and I thought, oh, perfect, there we go.
Snatch those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he took that really well.
So on all these cards are a bunch of questions, and all you need to do, Michelle, is take the top 3 cards off the deck, which it's been shuffled, and then we invite you to choose one of them to answer. If you don't want to answer any of them, that's fine. We'll just say goodbye and say, well, that was a great episode. Nice try. But honestly, no pressure. You can pick another one if it's not right. But yeah.
Okay, great. So I pick 3.
Pick 3.
And shall I read them all out?
Yeah.
Or just the one that Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
read them all out. What do we got?
Okay. So the first one says, what insecurities have held you back?
Mm-hmm.
And that's on top of a picture of Bandit. I just want to be clear about that.
Good. That is important.
The second one says, how has money impacted your relationships?
Ooh.
And the third one is, are you more of an optimist or a pessimist? I'm going to go with, are you more of an optimist or a pessimist?
Great.
Oh,
I'm going to take that one.
Let's throw those other 2 in the bin.
In the bin? Shall I tear them? Shall I eat them?
Yeah. I reckon eat them. If it doesn't work, we can cut it out in post. But I think it would be cool to see if that works just for content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's content, right?
Yeah. And obviously we're short on time, so if we can just do it in a minute.
Okay. So shall I answer?
Please.
Yeah.
My question?
Whatever comes to mind. Yeah.
I am definitely more of an optimist than a pessimist, which is why I really I gravitated towards this question because I am very, very strongly on the optimist side to the point where it's almost a fault or a flaw.
Well, like so optimistic that you're blind to things, maybe?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about my new show before, and it's
Reform.
Yes, Reform, and it's based on the story of me being so optimistic that I was scammed by this man. And instead of going to the police, I just tried to reform him. I just tried to become his friend.
That's
Whoa.
right. This is the show, isn't it? This
Yeah.
is what the show's about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I spent months of my life speaking to this man. But I also genuinely think, I think the world is good. I feel very hopeful.
You have confidence in people that they're good.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that we try our best.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we spend so much time, especially now and, on the internet, there's a lot of, it doesn't matter what you meant to say, it matters what you said. And I don't think that's true. I think it does matter what you say, but it equally matters what you meant
The
to
intent.
say.
The
Yeah,
intent
intent is
Yeah.
important. And I think most people's intent, most of the time, even if it's ill-informed, is good.
Yeah.
I do believe
I love that. I think
Yeah.
I tend to agree.
What was do you mind me asking what the scam was? What?
Yeah, okay. So I tried to buy, it was during the lockdown, and I tried to buy a Pilates reformer. Have you guys done Pilates?
Yeah,
Yep.
I do that. I have done it for a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
years.
You've done it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the reformer, the bed
Yeah, very well.
with the springs and things.
Yeah.
I tried to buy one during lockdown.
Oh, they're expensive, aren't they?
They are expensive,
Yeah.
but there was
Good
this.
for you.
Thank you. No, there was a guy selling one on Facebook Marketplace for quite cheap. Honestly, quite cheap.
Yeah, $1. It didn't work. I haven't got any money.
And I just thought, okay, because it was $500, which is not necessarily cheap, but for a Pilates reformer, very cheap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
So
price.
I thought, okay, look, this could be too good to be true, sure, but his Facebook profile looked real. Like, it was 10 years old. He had friends, comments, likes, all of that stuff. Pictures of him in Bali. I was like, all right, I can find this person if they wrong me.
Yeah.
Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. And so I transferred him $500, and then he did not send me a Pilates reformer. Let me tell you that.
Oh,
Yeah.
What did he? That made it sound like he sent you something.
No, he didn't send me anything. He just
it was the wrong model.
No, he just we just went back and forth for a long time, and I think he thought he must have been in such a dark place that he just thought he could get away with it or put it off, that kind of point in his life where he was just surviving day to day, and he'd just gone, I'm going to get $500 quickly and then just figure it out later. And
Sorry to get specific. Was it all those photos in the profile, was it all real or was it all
he
fake?
was real.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
He was real. So he risked.
It wasn't like he set up a fake account to
No.
do this. Wow.
No,
Huh.
he's a real person.
Yeah.
I'm still in contact with him now.
Okay.
Does he know you're doing a show?
He does, yeah.
So this is is this the story in the show Reform? Is this
Yeah.
part of the show? Oh,
Wow.
it
This is
Right,
the
okay,
whole story.
Yeah.
Was there a play on words with reformer as well?
Yes,
I would
because he is.
assume so.
Yes, yeah, it's me. Yes, thank you.
If you
Thank
didn't notice,
Yeah,
I hope you haven't missed that one.
yeah.
I mean, it'd be incredible if that was the first time she realised.
Yeah, I was like, I have to furiously rewrite this. There's a gorgeous metaphor in here. I have to go.
Yeah, okay. So at what point did you realise it was because my girlfriend's had a similar thing, but
Oh,
it was
really?
more of an organised operation where it was with mobile phones. So it was like people who
Oh.
were, scamming on Facebook Marketplace as well, selling, used iPhones and
Okay.
I won't go into details, but essentially it's a scam, but not a one-off. It was like people using fake
Yeah.
accounts and stuff like that, which is quite common.
Yeah.
But it's quite, at least in our experience, once we kind of realised we think this is a scam, you feel a little bit, I don't know, it felt like there was like a weird, scary feeling of someone's tricked me. Like, you know when you get robbed, if you've been robbed and you feel like someone's like infiltrated
Been
your life.
violated
Being
or-
violated,
yeah.
yeah, that's the word. And we felt that. Did you ever feel that? Or
No. Isn't
Yeah.
that funny? I just felt worried about him.
Oh,
I just was very interested in how he'd ended up
You're a good
in
person.
this place.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I also, whenever someone does me wrong, I'm very much like, oh, you're a bit of a scallywag. Like if someone cuts me off in traffic, I'm like, oh, toot toot, good luck with the baby. Like on the way to the hospital, I just make an assumption.
Yeah.
And I think I trained my brain into that when I was very young, and so now it just goes straight there.
Whoa.
So I think there's something that bypasses, but obviously that gets in the way, and that means that I will give $500 to a stranger on Facebook,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
but I'm
that's
still
amazing.
glad that that is my instinct.
It wasn't always your instinct. Like,
Well, I mean, possibly it was. I don't know, but there's just something I've noticed when I talk to friends or things, and they'll get upset about something and feel hard done by something, and then I always will be the one to say, yeah, but think about it this way and this way and this way. And I think possibly what happened, I mean, yeah, I lost my dad very, very young, and I think that I was really afraid to feel that grief. And so instead of doing that,
How old are you? Sorry, do you mind me asking?
oh yeah, no, that's fine. I was about 18, 19.
Okay.
And so, I was still a kid, and I just moved to the city. He was diagnosed with cancer. He died 7 days later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was absurd. It was truly absurd. And I've always sort of prepared for the worst, hoped for the best, prepare for the worst. So as soon as he was sick, I went, all right, he's going to die. And I sort of grieved him immediately. And then when he died, I was holding his hand. I was looking after everyone. I held my sister's hand at the funeral because, she was having trouble speaking and she's older than me. I sang at the funeral. I was very like, I can see what's missing in this cast of people. I can see that the stoic person is missing. So I will play that role. And I was just more familiar doing that.
Potentially insensitive question, but good gig for you? Good gig?
Great gig,
Yeah.
so good. Everyone was like, "You're amazing." I was
Yeah,
like, "Thank
great.
you,
That's a nice
thank
moment
you
for you.
so much,
Yeah.
guys." This woman came up to me at the funeral because I've got quite big curly hair, and back then GHDs weren't really around, so everyone had curly hair,
Straighteners, you.
straighteners,
Okay.
and so this woman walked up to me and she touched my hair and she said, "Michelle, every time I look at you, I just think." The Lion King. And then she walked away.
Whoa.
And I don't know who she was
Really?
or what she meant. And it was magnificent. What a treat. Like, who's this mysterious woman?
wow.
Is it that I have a mane? Is it that I do musicals? What is she talking about?
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anyway, I lost my brother as well. And I think just that process of grief trained me to go, I don't like feeling sad, so I have to build a system to bypass it.
Wow.
Sorry. So that's awful. So who'd you lose first, your dad or your brother?
My dad died, and then my brother got cancer, similar cancer, and he died a few months into his diagnosis. So, and he was quite young. He was 42. So he's a lot older than me. So he was sort of, my brother and sister were like a second set of parents to me.
Yeah.
I was very much the best mistake my parents ever made when they thought they'd finished all their work.
Yes.
But I really loved my brother. Like he was everything that I wanted to be, and he was such a great guy. And I love my dad too. And I think, just losing those men in such a similar way, and then going, okay, well, I'm the youngest. the first canary's gone, second canary's gone. My sister had some precancerous cells found and stuff, and she's older than me. So it was like, okay, it's on, there's this race and I might not have quite as long as,
Wow.
we feel we're all promised or guaranteed. And I think the perspective that comes from that, along with the terrible fear of being sad and uncomfortable sitting in sadness, because my first experience of it was to see everyone around me be sad. And I went, I got to fix them. I got to fix this. Now I just am a real fixer.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind going into this stuff
I don't.
too far.
No, it's fine.
Was it a thing that you just like one day you're able to go, all right, this is what I'm doing? Or was it something you had to kind of work at?
I think it happened accidentally, and then I worked backwards and went, what am I doing? Why is it that I'm not crying? Why is it that I'm the person that people come to with their problems? I went to a therapist and I told him about all my stuff, and I really just went there because I wanted him to say, your fear of dying young is unreasonable. You're going to be fine. You're being obsessive. Here's some tools. But he went, well, that sounds all very reasonable to me. Yeah, that's fair. And I was like, okay, bye.
Yeah. Hey, therapist, I'm kind of one of the fix-it people. Can you fix me quickly? Because
it's going to need just some. I don't know. Do you want me to write a list? What can I?
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
So how long was it between your dad and your brother?
A few years.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So we had a bit of time. And that was, Dad was 67 when he died. So he was young, but he was also... He was a bigger guy and he had type 2 diabetes. He did have health problems my whole life. So it was not expected, but it was not a shock like my brother was. Like my brother's, that really changed the game. And just luckily I'd prepared. I just had, my brain had made this neural pathway that goes, all right, well, here's what you can do about it and here's what you can't do about it and here's the good sides of it. And so let's just go straight to there and not process that grief in any way. Like let's just... save that for...
And so have you continued to have you done therapy or anything around it? Like, is that something, or have you found other ways to...
Yeah, so I never have a regular therapist, which is, I wish that I did, and I do intend to have one, but I keep finding ones that tell me I'm good, that I get constantly that I should be a counsellor from therapists, or that it sounds like this is a blip. I've had a few different people say, it sounds like this is a blip. You have the tools to deal with this. You're going to be okay, which is lovely and reassuring. But I think...
But you don't feel that?
I don't necessarily feel that. Or it's just, I think that possibly my existence is usually at a 10 out of 10. I'm really quite happy. I find being grateful really easily. I find joy in a lot of things. I'm very, very lucky, really. Like I have a lovely life.
Amazing.
And so when I'm at a 7, I feel like I'm at a 2, but a therapist sees people who are all over and will look at me and go, well, you're at a 7. Don't worry about it. But that's just my experience. There's so many different therapists. Obviously, that's just my experience with therapists.
Yeah. And is that like, do you think as a result, that optimism you have, like to bring it back to the optimism, is that a result, do you think, of that perspective you've got from like losing 2 of the closest people in your life? Like I cannot even imagine, and I just want to, I'm a wood knocker.
Have you got your egg with you?
I do actually.
Ryan carries a wooden egg with him that he...
Oh, so you can...
So I can touch wood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm a really strange person.
No, I think that's lovely.
But yeah, that perspective that you sort of get from losing people like so close to you, is that something that I'm sure that's in your mind a lot? Does that, do you think, help you find perspective in things that would often send people under?
Yes, very much so. I think it helps with work a lot. It means that if I do a gig that doesn't go that well, or if I'm, down to the last 2 for a TV role that I really want and then somebody else gets it, I can go, well, I still have all the people I love. I'm not in a hospital. I think it's very helpful. But also I definitely use it as a crutch. Like I definitely will just be like, oh, well, it's okay because, that worse things have happened to better people. And then the people around me will try and slow me down and say, you're going to have to cry about this at some point.
Yeah.
You might as well do it now. But I do keep things, so I think I must internalize things. They have to go somewhere, right? Because I do tend to bypass, but this is in the same series of events, but I was in a house fire and I burnt my legs and I had to learn to walk again. This is just before my dad died.
Michelle.
Yeah, this is what my show's about. This is what Average Bear is about.
Right, okay.
Wow.
Which is why it won the awards. Everyone just felt so bad for me.
I give it to the leg girl.
Give it to that leg girl. She seems sad and everyone's dead. No one's very
Wow.
But yeah, so
Oh, that's incredible. It must have been what a traumatic time. So what? At what point in your life did the house fire happen?
Just before
Dad.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I was about 18. I'd done my first year at Victorian College of the Arts, which was my dream, and I wasn't really fitting in. I was not fitting in there. I had great friends, but I couldn't take certain things seriously. I was quite young, and there was this exercise where you had to go and stand in front of the class and just be. And what they really wanted you to do was stand in front of the class and cry. They wanted you to stand up there and cry.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything to cry about. And I was just, the people, like actor after actor would get up in front of the class and have a breakdown and then be applauded. And I would get up there and just be like, I think I'm being, I don't know, I'm 18. I just want to be in the chorus of Billy Elliot. I don't know why this is relevant, like, does this make me a better actor or does this make me better at acting school?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was there and that was a bit weird. And then, the fire happened and I was so sad because I couldn't go back to VCA. But
Can I ask you about the fire? Were you asleep in the house?
Sat too close to a heater. Wives' tale. Literally just sat too close to a heater and went up.
Hang on.
Oh, so your pants?
Yeah,
my God.
And I had stockings on, which are, made of very flammable material, and I just was on fire. And
How terrifying is that?
It was very scary, but at the time I didn't obviously I had my adrenaline, but I screamed. I noticed I was on fire and I screamed stop, drop, roll, and then I did it. Like I yelled at myself and was like, here's how we're getting through this. I threw myself on the ground, but it didn't work. Just PSA. Doesn't always work.
Yes.
It did not work. So, so I was just sort of running back and forth, like Benny Hill theme playing, like trying to put out this fire. And my housemates helped me. They threw me in the shower. And then as soon as they got me out of the shower, I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got to go to work. And they were like, you can't go to work. You don't have any skin on your legs. Like you're going to hospital. And then I went to hospital. And they were like, yeah, you're going into surgery. You're going to be here for a while. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I just didn't.
It didn't, like, you couldn't process it?
No, it didn't click in. And then, there was a lot of morphine and then I don't really remember much of it. And then I got out and then Dad was sick. So it all just sort of rolled on from this, very, like, quite privileged life. Like, my family wasn't rich or anything, but I didn't know that. I went to a public school and it was, like, kind of the school, kids brought knives to school. Like it wasn't a, amazing school or anything, but I had a great time. My teachers were great. And I didn't know the things that we couldn't afford because I didn't know that there were things that we didn't have.
Yep.
So my parents were so lovely to me. And then, we were a very happy family and I had good friends. And then I got into VCA, which was my whole dream.
Amazing.
And so everything was just so lovely. And then it kind of just crashed. And even then, with the fire, for years and years, I couldn't light a stove, I couldn't light a candle, but I didn't go to a therapist about it. I just went, oh, well, I'm just a bit spooked. But I would wake up in the middle of the night, smell a fire and grab a lamp, like as my thing to take out of the house. I'd be like, house is on fire, get the lamp. Like is
it you wanted to save the lamp?
I think it was just a thing next to me. So I'd be like, saving the lamp. I'd be like, well, okay, I've got the lamp, you get the dog. Like that was
Michelle, you got the lamp.
I'm going back in. But yeah, so I definitely had signs of like, this is affecting you. But somehow I just managed to have this optimism that kind of carries me through the difficult times so that I can process it when I'm safely in the bath watching Desperate Housewives,
Yes.
So how long since your brother passed away then?
It's been now, oh gosh, maybe 6 or 7 years. It's been a while now.
So have you, in the last 6 years, had a chance to grieve everything that's happened? Like, have you had a moment where you've stopped? Because I feel like I've only known you for half an hour, but I feel like you're sort of go in a really beautiful way. But have you had a chance to stop and really grieve what you've been through at all?
It's a difficult question. I think so. I think that, there have been times I remember just sitting watching Once. Do you guys know Once, the film?
I know the soundtrack, but not the movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, you watch the film for the soundtrack. It's beautiful
Yeah.
music. Glenn Hansard and Marketa Aglovia. And I've butchered that last name, but pretend like you've never heard it before.
Sounded perfect to me.
Yeah,
I've heard it
me
before.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful music, and my brother lived in Ireland for a long time, and that film is set in all the places where he used to spend time. And so he would show us that movie all the time, and that's kind of ignited this love of this particular type of music. And I was watching once and I just found myself sobbing, and I was like, I miss my brother. And my partner's very supportive and, just let me cry. He's very encouraging of, you have to feel these things. Sometimes if he's upset, I'll try and solve his problems. And he's like, I actually just need to sit in this for a second, which is something that I'm still learning to let him do and learning that I might sometimes need to do. But he just held me and I just had to cry. And then the Average Bear show it's about having less time on earth than the average bear, and also, being afraid because you don't have all the answers. You don't know if you're going to be sick or not. So that was about hibernation as a metaphor of for chemotherapy, and just like waiting for a spring that might never come, but hoping.
Wow.
It could be your last spring, but if you just go to sleep for now, you might get an infinite amount of springs. So it's about that, and it's about my brother and the burns and my father. And I think that in a way, even though it's not a very sad show, like it's a very joyful show, it's half the story of me, half the story of a bear who's afraid to go into hibernation, and her friends are calling her from like a club and they're like, babe, we're at hibernation, where are you? They're doing wet pussy shots. So it's this kind of, joyful metaphor that's very, the music's all very inspired by once. It's very Irish, very folky, and, lots of sing-alongs. And I think in a way that was my grieving of my brother. I think that was my real... I guess that was my little funeral for him, my little celebration of, and for that girl that went through, like that went through those things and became a woman, or, became a different version, and became somebody who had actually had life experience and probably could get up in the VCA class and cry them all under the table,
Yeah.
So it was just it was an interesting way to mark grief. And I think you have to be careful when you're doing it on stage, because the audience has to know that you're okay.
They have to trust that it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They have to trust that you're fine, and that you've done the work and you're going to be okay, and they're not going to have to watch you cry, or, they're not going to have to look after you. You're here to look after them and share a story and a perspective rather than just, dump on them. And that's why it took me years and years to make the show, because I needed to be okay. But I think in a way it still was. It was a funeral, it was a celebration, it was a cleansing. And I guess I just grieved in a different way maybe, or who knows, in 2 months I'll wake up and I'll be like, we can't predict these things.
No. Yeah. I mean, I imagine I've never written a book or done a stand-up comedy show like you have, but I imagine if you're writing about something that is so personal, about a very specific event, people often say when they're writing a book about their childhood, if it was traumatic in some way or anything in their life, then sort of reliving it can be quite therapeutic.
Yeah.
Because you're sort of going over past events in more of an analytical way. Were you able to be sort of more objective about what you experienced because you're sort of separated? You're writing yourself as a character essentially.
Yeah, and I think that has helped me through a lot of things. Going, this is the story, and this was my part in the story. These are the mistakes that I made, and these are the silly things that I did. I've always been able to laugh at myself, which is very helpful.
Huge, yeah.
So I think looking at life as a story in general is very helpful, and going, well, what's the story? How do you want the story to be shaped? And what would the character that you want to be, what would they do in this situation? Without putting pressure on yourself, I suppose. Maybe that's a bum steer, but that's how I move through the world, and so far it's quite nice.
Yeah, it can be very empowering.
Yeah, I think so.
Rather than pressuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Main character syndrome.
yeah, it's a pretty classic case of it.
Yeah, but that's all right.
It's also so beautiful that you've done it your way. Like it sounds incredibly main character, and very you to be able to process it, bringing in everything that sort of stimulates you, interests you, and you can involve yourself in performing and writing and all that kind of stuff.
And it's for people who are grieving as well.
Yeah,
people often will, will come to the show, and then they'll bring their mum who's just lost their dad, or, you know, things like that. They bring people back to it and go, this will be healing, which is amazing.
What a
like,
gift.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when you can turn something into, you know, just it being about you or insular, if you could make it a shared experience, then that's so human. That's what we were meant to do. We're meant to tell stories, or, you know, it feels good when we tell stories. It feels good when we sing together. So let's just do that. I'm lucky that I can sing, and I'm lucky I can tell stories. So I might as well. It just seems like the right way to deal with things for me at this point. And in 10 years, I'll probably change my mind. Who knows? But
whenever I've written stuff, if it's somehow connected to my family in some way, even if it's sort of like metaphor-y, I'm always conscious of the fact that I know they're going to watch it and how they'll receive it. But I just can't help but think, like, your mum, when she saw Average Bear, or like when you were writing it, I imagine you spoke to her about it, because like traumatic time for you, but traumatic time for your mum as well, of course. How was that experience, like where she saw the show, or she, you know?
My mum hasn't seen the show. She's the only one in my family who hasn't seen the show. Just because she hasn't been sure. So she sent some representatives to go and collect feedback, and she's finally been given the all clear that she'll be okay.
Yeah, but just from a quality point of view, she wasn't sure. Like,
yeah, she wasn't sure if I was funny.
There's heaps of shows at the festival. So.
Yeah, she was like, she's going to see Akmal, and she's busy that night. No, she's very supportive, but she just thought she'd cry. She just thought she'd cry and cry, and she wouldn't be able to leave. And that's fair enough. The rest of my family came. My brother's partner, she came and she brought my brother's ashes, and my sister came, and my sister's quite sensitive, and all of my brother's friends came, and they all came on the same night.
Oh, whoa.
As well as my best friend who was there when I had my burns, and, you know, walked me through that and looked after me through that time, and he's been to, you know, all the funerals. He's been my best friend since year 4. He came that night too, and it was the first time all of them were seeing it. And it was very there's a moment where I sing. Do you guys know The Parting Glass? It's an Irish song. So it's a song you sing at the end of the night when the pub's closing, but it's also a song you sing at a funeral, because it's really, really beautiful. It's I won't like sing it to you now, but you might want to like put it in. It's a folk song, so there's no rights. It's a beautiful song.
Cool.
So I sing that in the show, because there's a part where I say, before my brother passed away, I was in Edinburgh doing a show about losing dad, and my brother passed away, and he asks me to do a song for him, and I go to record it, but I don't send it in time, and then I sing The Parting Glass, which I've talked about earlier in the show, singing with him drunk at the pub. And so I sing that, and in just a cappella 2-part harmony with my partner, Tim. And it's always a bit of a tearjerker for people, but that particular night I could hear my family, like I could hear specific sobs at specific times, and I was like, that's my sister, that's my sister-in-law, that's my brother's best friend. And that was probably the only time where I've come close to crying. And I just like took a deep breath, and I looked at Tim and my partner, and tears were rolling down his face, and I went, all right, I'm on my own. Let's go. And I got through it, but that was the most difficult part. And also I talk about my whole family. I talk about all of them. I talk about how my sister's very generous, how my sister-in-law is now raising 2 neurodivergent kids. She's neurodivergent herself. She's a Canadian nurse. She's been through hell. She lost her previous partner in an airline accident. Like, she's been through so much.
Whoa.
So I think they're all happy with it. It was interesting. My sister was crying after the show, obviously. She's crying. She's very proud, and she went to the bathroom, and apparently the audience, she looks just like me. She's got much darker skin than me, but she looks just like me in a different colour. She was crying in the audience to toilets, and a bunch of the audience saw her and was like, that's obviously Michelle's sister. She looks exactly the same, and just embraced her.
Oh my God.
Which is amazing. Just so amazing. Wow. But also my sister is different to me, and she hates being touched and she hates talking to strangers. Because I live to talk to strangers. So they're just like, oh, that's Michelle. And it's like, that ain't it, kid. That was fine. She understood. But
So how is your mum going? I can't imagine.
Oh my God, she's amazing. My mum is incredible. She goes to golf. Because she was rattling around in this empty 5-bedroom house and was like, I need to sell this house. She sold the house. She moved to a retirement village where everybody's over 50. You get your own house and you get to design it and stuff because it was a new retirement village. There's a golf course. There's a vineyard, like a mini vineyard, and like a pizza oven, a big community centre where she goes to choir. She's so happy. She travels. She goes overseas. Before she would, go on cruises all the time. I'm honestly pretty sure she started a speakeasy during the lockdown. I have strong concerns. She's vaccinated, but but yeah, she's really great. She's very, she's very Irish. She's very, we keep going. We get through. What else are you going to do? We just get up and we just do, if I call her and I say, oh, I'm a bit stressed, she'll go, well, don't be stressed. I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It reminds me of my mum. I'll check with her before we put this in, but my mum told me the other week how when there was this really weird time. You remember when that plane, just made me think of it with the airline disaster, but when that plane went down over, it's the Indonesian Airlines. Yeah, that one. When that went down, my mum realised that it was the same flight that my auntie, her sister, and my auntie and uncle were on. And so she was like, hang on, they're supposed to be flying today. Oh. And then looked and she was like, it's the same, that's the date today. And so immediately she was like, oh my God, and called her.
Yeah.
And it was not, phone was off.
Oh my God.
Kept calling, phone was off, and started panicking, obviously. And then mum went round to her parents' house, because she called, Nana, and went round to Nana and Papa's house, and she was there. And Nana was getting really stressed, and obviously mum was really stressed, and my dad was there, and my mum but my papa, the father of my auntie who was on the plane, he was sort of not that stressed or worried. He was just sort of sitting there calmly. And my mum was just like, Dad, do you understand what's going on here? Do you know what's happening? And all he said was bad things happen.
Wow.
And it's he's seen so much in his life that his response was just bad things happen.
Wow.
It's, of course it's tragic. Anyway, she sort of, I think, held on to that as as she faces certain things. But anyway, there was a happy end of the story. Turns out that, so then my dad then goes, oh, we should call the hotel, try and get through to their room. Gets through to the room. And so because of the time difference, they were on the same flight the next day. Oh. But the date was the same.
Oh my gosh.
So there was probably 2 hours, and it was the middle of the night, so they were in bed, they turned their phones off.
Wow.
And so there's 2 or 3 hours there where we all thought that they were on that flight.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, the reason I talk about it is because of that sort of, you talked about your mum, that sort of I don't know what you call it. That's stoicism. Yeah. He clearly had that, and there's something very, there's something very powerful about it, and it's not, some people might see it as almost cold-hearted or something, but it's not. It's something else, and it's quite comforting potentially if you need that. I don't know.
Yeah, Stoicism's very interesting, and I think it's also misrepresented a lot of the time. But yeah, that's an amazing story. Wow.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
It's I don't know if I've said this before on the podcast, but Marcus Aurelius, he wanted to be resilient, or he called it being anti-fragile, I think. And every night before he went to bed, he would imagine everyone that he loves being killed. Every single night he'd spend 10 minutes just thinking about everyone he loves and what life would be like if they were gone, so that if it happened, he's practiced in his head. So he would be like, yep, I've been here, I've done this, and that was his thing on being.
Do you know what? I did that as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, I did that as a
Whoa.
kid. I was always about my parents specifically.
Really?
Yeah, about my parents.
Huh.
Yeah, all the time.
And how old were you when you did that?
As long as I can remember, I did
And
it.
what made you decide to do that? Do you remember?
Overactive imagination. I had no reason to think that they were older than everybody else's parents,
Yeah.
but I had no reason to assume that they would
Gosh.
die suddenly.
Wow.
But I just, and
You
even,
and Marcus.
yeah.
Do you think that helped, like the way that you dealt with everything that went in those sort of that 3-year period or whatever it was? Would that have? Do you reckon that contributed?
I think it helped with Dad. I think it also meant that as soon as he was sick, as soon as Mum said it's cancer, I grieved him straight away. I fell to the ground.
Oh.
He became Daddy. I hadn't called him Daddy since I was a kid, but I was saying Daddy and I was just sobbing. And I just was as if he had died.
Interesting. Wow.
But then when he
gosh.
died, I was all right. But I just knew the response to he's going to die because I'd practiced.
Mm,
Isn't that weird?
that is really fascinating.
Because the flip side of that coin is Brené Brown calling that foreboding joy when we have something really good. But the example that you could give is when you're saying goodnight to your kids and they're asleep and you give them a kiss before you go to bed and then you think, my gosh, imagine if something happened to you. I
Yeah.
could not cope. Imagine if you got really sick and how would I? And that's called foreboding joy, where you're meant to catch yourself and go, no, what am I really grateful for about this person now? I love the way
Yeah.
they smell. I love our relationship, all that kind of stuff. So that's like Brené Brown would say, no, you've got to do the other. You've got to, when you've got the opportunity to experience joy, you've got to lean into it.
Yeah.
That's her sort of take on it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's very, very, very true. I remember when I first got my first TV gig, I was really excited, really happy, and then I turned to my partner and I said, Tim, do you know what this means? And he said, no. And I said, this means one day someone's going to say, what do you do for work? And I'm going to say, I used to be on TV.
Oh,
And he was like, Michelle, stop it. And I was like,
foreboding joy.
I don't know why. Yeah, I just had, and I am very much an optimist,
I was
but
going to say it's very off-brand for you.
Yeah.
yeah, but there are just little moments where I go, the things that I will really hurt when I lose them, I've got to be ready, because I also feel like the world has taught me that I'm other people, that the things that happen to other people, sit too close to the heater, you'll catch fire, you'll learn to walk again, your parents will die, someone will get cancer, you'll have a weird cancer gene. Those things happen to other people, but those things have happened to me. So there's this sort of pattern that and of course I've made that pattern. I've seen that pattern. I'm talking about it. I'm verbalizing it now. It's not helpful. And I should also look at all the brilliant things and all the other patterns and all the other things. And I do, but that does sneak in every now and then when something's very precious and I go, oh, I hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I might have missed, I don't know, maybe you said this earlier in the interview, but so you have that same gene, is that right?
Well, listen, I don't know. So they think so. They told me that there's like a 97% chance I'll get one of these cancers. And thank you.
Ryan's just passing Michelle his wooden egg.
But I might not. And the reason I don't know is because if I go and get tested, then health insurance and life insurance are really hard.
Oh.
So I haven't gotten tested. So I just live as if I have the gene and I get treated at the Familial Cancer Centre. They send me, any new research. They test me regularly. I get tested as if I have the gene, but I don't know if I have the gene. And I wish I knew, but I also I don't know. Maybe it's okay to just not know. But yeah, financially it would just ruin me, I think. If I do have it and then I do get sick, it could ruin everything.
That seems like a real flaw in the system.
It's very common. Yeah, it happens to a lot of people.
Wow.
I bet.
What a I mean, maybe explains why you're so go and because you feel like you never know what's around the corner in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you not only, but you really feel that. You never know. So
yeah,
just optimism is the best way to be.
Yeah,
when you don't
you
know.
have to. I feel like I have to. I should own that.
But it really was like, and I try not to say this with any sort of like condescension or anything like that. But like when you came in, there was a genuine change of mood in the room where you brought in such like a positive energy.
Oh, thank
and
you.
And you have such a positive energy.
Thank you.
And I think it has quite a huge. Now that I think about it, it had quite a huge impact when you walked in the room.
It's infectious.
I think it is infectious. Yeah.
That's so lovely. Little old me. Thank you. That's so nice. That's all I want. That's literally all I aspire to be.
It's fascinating that you can. It's beautiful that you can have an awareness of death and reframe it into such a empowering and positive thing for your life and for the life of everyone around you.
Thank you. I sometimes wonder if it's my ego that's done it, if it's my main character syndrome. Not to diminish the compliments, but I sometimes think, well, perhaps it's because I think I deserve a good story. Like perhaps it's because, I want to be remembered as amazing, so I hold myself to a high standard. I don't know what it is, but yeah, so I sometimes do interrogate that and go, why is it that you're so deliberately this way?
Yeah, I don't know if this might sound like a strange thing to bring up, but strangely, when I think I was optimistic, and then for a lot of my life I became pessimistic, and then when my son was born, I found myself. There was this beautiful phrase. I'll probably butcher it. I was listening to Christopher Hitchens' book about his life, and he says when his son was born, he said he felt the funeral director of his own life walking onto the stage.
Yeah, wow.
And this knowledge that I'm next now.
Wow.
And it was exactly how I felt when he was born. It was
really?
Like I heard it afterwards, and it was like, but it wasn't a negative thing. It was exactly what you're talking about, and suddenly I found it easier to choose optimism.
Yeah.
After he was born, because I was like, I don't have a lot of time left, and I want to live my life the way I want to take the opportunities. I want to be optimistic.
Yeah.
And it just struck me when you were talking about you experiencing so much tragedy, and it was strange to me that I felt a similar thing from birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Birth and grief are so close, I think, so intertwined. Singing and laughing and crying are so close.
Yeah.
Physiologically.
Birth and grief?
Yeah.
Birth and grief.
Don't you think? Just such a change and such a...
I was stupidly...
What were you?
I was thinking my own birth.
Oh.
Like, as opposed to the birth of someone else. I don't really remember my own birth. But I guess it was kind of sad.
I remember yours. It was very sad. Yeah. Very sad. I gave a eulogy.
Yeah, shocking. There was a big groan when I was born. Oh,
I was like, oh, God.
shit. The last thing we wanted.
Yeah. Your mum was like, is that it? And they were like, yeah, sorry, that looks like that's it.
Okay, can you look again?
There's nothing else in it.
Well, Michelle, this has just been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I can't wait to see your show, Reform. Yeah. I'm sure it'll win many awards. It sounds great. Well, Michelle, Hugh, anything else you want to say?
No, I just love chatting to people who have thought a lot about the reasons for the way that they are. And I feel like you have spent a bit of time reflecting on why you are the way you are, not just the events, but the way you've. So I just, thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. I think I'm obsessed with myself.
I'm obsessed with myself.
Yeah, I think it's good. Someone's got to be.
No, but I especially when it's like a lot of your life is performing, and I know you've done this show, you've talked about all this stuff before many times, but I still think, I don't know, sitting down with three guys that you don't really know and letting them interrogate, trying to learn off. I think it's really generous, and I get so many emails from people who listen to this podcast, and different things will resonate with them. And we spoke to Kate Langbrook a little while ago, and she talked about her son's diagnosis of cancer, and he managed to survive that. And there were so many people who reached out talking about similar stories. I have no doubt there'll be so many people who are experiencing grief or going through grief who this will really reach them and speak to them in a really special way. So I think it's really special what you've done today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for providing a platform for people to tell their stories. It's really lovely. And, to talk about, especially for being three men talking about vulnerable stuff. It's really nice. It's a
Thanks,
treat.
Michelle.
Well, thank you.
Cool.
Thanks very much.
We're really good at taking compliments.
Yeah, just the incredible silence.
We just froze.
All shoulders just rose. No, not me.
No, you definitely, at the start you described yourself as a storyteller, and you are very much that. Thank you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
If this episode has been triggering for you, we strongly recommend Lifeline on 131114.
The Imperfects is hosted and co-produced by Hugh Van Cuylenberg, Ryan Shelton and Josh Van Cuylenberg. This episode was produced by Bridget Northeast, edited by Andy Hall, filmed by Andy Poole and social mediaed by George Martin. A special thanks to Dr. M for her expertise and guidance. We'd also like to thank the Resilience Project for their ongoing support. Our acknowledgement of country was delivered by Marley Silva, and you can find Marley's podcast Chicks and Balls on all the podcast platforms.